So, as a total, mostly complete journey, I'm not even gonna say how long I've been working on this. It's mostly because I've been procrastinating, but at the end of the day, this is not 100% done, but it's ready to go back in the car. And majority of all the cutting, unwrapping all the electrical tape that they blessed us with, cutting wires and tying them up and resoldering and blah. Oh God. Basically, about 3 to 4 weeks later, and outside of the fact of me wanting to peel my face off, I finally finished my wiring harness. Well, not harness, but the fuse box relocation, as far as extending all the wires and labeling everything and making sure that it's all ready to go. So, real quick before I get to throwing this back in the car, this is pretty much complete, electrical taped off. If you've seen the last video, I said that everywhere there's a red mark, well, not red mark, but red electrical tape. I wrote on there what's underneath it for anything that I might have hidden, like such as wires that are not being used or things that I might want to know if something goes wrong, such as these, which are, what are these? Solder joints. So this is where I cut the OEM harness and soldered in the wire extensions all the way out. Driver's side is going to be less lengthy than the passenger side is, because the passenger side is going to continue across the core support. But I just finished installing all the, well, not installing, but soldering up all the butt connectors. I'm going to electrical tape these off, but I'll do that after I install it because I want to make sure these make it to the headlights lengthwise first. Excuse my sickness. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Everything is electrical taped off because I didn't bother getting heat shrink or sleeving. Let's see. The only wires that are not electrical taped off is the power wire to the daytime running light, because this is the only wire that I did not take from a pair. I mean, I did take it from a pair, but I'm only using one wire out of the two, and I didn't feel like electrical taping 4 feet of just single wire. So if anything goes wrong with those, I'll just deal with it. I actually ran out of wire for the last one on this side, which is why it looks so sketchy, but it's structurally sound. 1, 2, 3, 4 different wires that I had to piece together in order to get it to the same length, and those are just wires that I found around. So if you're gonna do this, definitely get a 10-pack of electrical tape, because I have went through, I had the 2 that I already had full rolls, and I only have 5 left from the 10-pack. So 7 rolls of black electrical tape, 1 roll of red, and I had a little bit of white left for under there. So definitely get a lot of electrical tape and get over 100 feet of wire, because that is basically what this stuff is right here. Over 100 feet of wire. Doesn't look like that much, but it is. It's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of time. It's very tedious, but it is worth it in the end. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start getting this thing installed into the car. I just got to drag this thing out, but one step at a time. Also, as far as this side is concerned, I was going to mount this like this under there, but I'm not going to do that yet, because I want to make sure that when I get the engine harness and stuff like that, that I can get all these powered up appropriately. So I'm going to wait on those. I'm going to just leave them loose in the car for now. This side is, zip tied in there, so that one's going to be good. These plugs I will be using for this one because this is the coolant fan and the pressure switch, triple pressure switch. This is like the horn. Yep, goes to the horns. And this one's to ambient air temperature, so we're going to use those. But these will probably be extended. I'll figure that out once I get the actual engine. And that's pretty much it. Also, just so you know, this is the amount of crap that comes on those wiring harnesses. Everything that I tore off, sleeve, electrical tape, sockets and bulbs, all that went right there. So that's just a fun fact. But yeah, let's go ahead and take this into the car, hook it up. I'm in the process of actually putting this harness in the car now. So far, and then what you guys won't see is off camera, I took the harness out here, laid it out on the ground first, and then mounted the glove box before the rest of it, and then I just drug the headlight wires in for the passenger side first and started routing them, and the rest of it is still out. So for now, this is basically the whole point of the project, to put the fuse box in the glove compartment or center console compartment. So as far as the original objective, I feel like that does it. So now that's where all the fuses and stuff sit. The harness itself, I'm gonna be probably run it over there when I fold it over and then have everything come back. As far as the headlight wires, I have realized that I made them too long. So these are all the wires for the passenger side set of lights, and it's routed through there. This is the rest of the harness, but I got it coming through the firewall. I'm gonna have it up here to avoid the wheel. Comes through here where it'll go across core support and then mount into the actual headlight. And so this is where I'm at with it now. But yeah, I realized that they were actually too long, so I had to fold them because I'm not going back in and shortening this. So I'm just gonna fold them over, zip tie that all under the core support, and we're gonna call it a day. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now, and then I'll route the other ones. So I'm gonna zip tie this, get this all situated where this is, and go ahead and start on the other one. This is kind of like a rough draft. Of course, I'm gonna make this a lot cleaner for the final thing. I zip tied these together so I can know that these are like the passenger lights, so it's like little zip ties holding them together throughout the whole thing. And I got it going under the core support via zip ties, and got it over here. So this is the part that's gonna connect to everything when I'm done with it, and then this is all the excess wire. I think I'm gonna cut it here and just route this whole little thing just back under there and refold it again. But for now, I'm just trying to mount it because it's gonna rain soon, so I just want to get them in the relative right place, and then I'll work on it. Well, I'll clean it up another day, probably tomorrow or something like that. Yeah, most likely tomorrow, but I'll be most likely doing that off camera. I just want you guys to see how I plan on it going in, so you can kind of get the gist of it. Fuse box there, headlight wires coming up here, driver side goes here, passenger side goes there, and that's it for the engine bay, with the exception of the stuff that connects to the engine harness, which I'm probably going to route and extend through that side just to keep them separate. Yeah, so I guess I'll go ahead and start dragging in the driver side lights, or driver side wires, and do that one too. This is where I'm at right now, and I'm probably gonna leave it like this until I come back tomorrow because I pretty much got the basics of it. But harness comes out here. It's gonna go up behind the cluster and everything like that. I'm gonna fold it over on top, so it'll go this way and then folds over and comes back. This is a ground. I'll just ground it to here. What else? There is another universal ground right here that I'll just put into the, you know, chassis. They're all chassis ground, so but yeah, it folds over back there, and then I have it coming behind down because if I can find where I put it. Yeah, it's right here. This is basically the indication to the part where it enters through that hole over there in the firewall. This is where that is. So you want this part to be over here because that's where all the connections are. So I got it coming down from right there. These are all the connections that'll plug into the other harness over here and all the plugs that go under the dash. So I'll do those, and that's these as well. I moved them out the way while I ran the other wires, but those are all the under the dash plugs. So yeah, that comes down into that. All the headlight wires go out through the firewall. Out through the firewall. They're gonna come up here and go around here when I actually mount it, but for now they're just right here. Through the wheel well, they're gonna come around to the core support, driver's side. As you can tell, I made these longer too, except for the red one. But driver's side lights will go directly here. Passenger side lights will come across and go to the passenger side. So that's pretty much how I'm gonna mount it. That's how I got it all routed up and stuff like that. Some other day I'm gonna come back and clean all this up, but for now it's just route it in the right direction and stick this right here for the time being. Doors in the way, but yeah, so that's pretty much how it's gonna be for now. And then the next clip that you see will probably be a couple days later. So this is another day, and I just want to point out that this so far, even though the whole wiring harness thing, extending the connections and stuff like that, it's very time consuming and like tedious, but this was like the hardest thing to do right here. Not rerouting it and everything like that, but I don't know, it might just be how my chassis is when I got it, because it was already kind of like this. But basically getting everything connected under here and route it in a way that when you know, push in the brake pedal and stuff like that, it's not gonna hit anything, was about the hardest thing that I've had to do so far. Because every harness was trying to get caught in it, every harness was getting pinched by it, moved around, and I finally got it. Let's see, this switch right here, I had to disconnect and route the harness over it and then reconnect it for clearance. Everything else was just a matter of like really pushing it back there and then finally like mounting it into the hole or something like that to kind of get it to clear. Everything has, as far as this section goes, everything has already been plugged up. Make sure that you plug it up as you're doing it, because you don't want to get through all this and then find out that you're missing a plug or something's not plugged in and the car won't start. So everything's plugged up. I'm not sure how this is supposed to mount up originally, like the fuse box and the other harness back there. I know it mounts over here, but I don't know where or how. So I just bolted this one up here for clearance. I put the ground to this chassis ground right here. Not sure where these bolt up to. It has a bracket, but not sure where they're bolt up to. And then the two big clamps in the back. By the way, in order to tighten those down, you have to ratchet it in. It's not gonna just clip in. But those two are actually not secured. There are clips on the back of the like housing that holds them right here, but the way that it was working is like I can't push it anymore in. It won't allow me to. Something's blocking it, or something's doesn't have enough room to clear that. So I just left it there because it's out of the way of everything, and yeah, it's fine. But everything is plugged up. So that is just something that I wanted to point out for now. So So that's that. This is just what I'm working on right now. Just getting everything connected. Everything else is over here, all the other connections that need to be plugged together. But the main part of this whole thing is getting it in there, rerouting it, getting that set up. Everything else can just be plugged in normally. I left this out because these go to like the cluster connections. So, all right, on to the next stuff.